Hello, welcome to another episode of Global Gurus, Thought Leadership in 15 Minutes. My name is Gassner, Otting. I am joined by my favorite co-host, Rhett, and today we have a great friend of mine, Sara Ross, who thinks about and studies and speaks about one of my favorite topics, which is workforce engagement and vitality. She's the author of a book called Dear Work, and she is one of our motivational speaker global gurus. Sara, welcome to Thought Leadership in 15 Minutes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
So as you know, we ask our gurus 3 questions and 15 minutes. We try to give our listeners one idea that they can take away and use immediately. So with that, let's start with, what is the unique methodology that you bring to the world?
Okay, so always keeping this as condensed as possible. I think that we can all agree that today there is this kind of unrelenting change and uncertainty. And I think one of the challenges is often leaders are approaching this world of complexity with this kind of sense of like, we'll just wait it out. And once we get through this really complex environment, then we're going to do all the things that we need to do. So it's kind of putting them in this defensive stance where they're in this mode of bracing and waiting for what might happen. And I think what that is doing is it's really exhausting people in both their approach, and it's limiting the potential that they have in the impact from a leadership perspective, because the world is changing, but some of our approaches haven't. And so ultimately, this problem that I see is that there is this gap between the excellence the world is demanding of us and the energetic capacity we have to meet it. And so how we kind of close that gap, expand the capacities to meet today's complexity, I think is the true opportunity that we have.
Okay, I love that, and I appreciate it, because I asked you the second question first. We often ask, what is the unique problem that you see in the world? What is the problem you see in the world? What is the unique methodology that you bring? And then what is the impact you see? So I really appreciate that you started with the problem. Thank you so much for that. Obviously, the excellence that this show demands of me is not here this morning. So I do appreciate that. So
you can just say this. Sorry, go ahead.
So with that problem, then what was the thing that sort of outraged you, that you said, this was the thing that I know, this is the methodology that I'm going to bring to my IP that I can bring to solve this problem?
So I'm a science geek. I am totally obsessed with why people do what they do, why we don't do the things we know would be most helpful in the moments that it counts the most. So I really think that there is this opportunity to use the science of human behavior as this kind of lens to help us widen how we are looking at leadership. And my work helps people equip them with the skills to strengthen the skills of human-centered leadership, and also do it in vitality-fueling ways. So because you asked me one question before, perhaps I'm just going to say this one piece to make the reason why I use this methodology that I call the lead full way to close that excellence energy gap so important, is because when you say, like, what's the thing that outrages you? I think the challenge that I see is that in a world that's completely changing, AI, for example, brings tons of opportunities, but AI is raising the stakes on those human-centered skills that we have known have always been important, but the conditions that we use them within are changing. And so we need to be able to access them, build them, and use them in more sophisticated ways. There's the excellence side. On the energy side, the challenge is that we are using some of those previous approaches to high performance that have worked, that have got us to where we need to be. Like, leaders are going all in all day, every day. They are narrowing their worlds outside of work in order to kind of keep delivering. But that's hitting its limit. It's hitting its limit because you see that even in a study that Gallup just released, they showed that while many leaders are feeling engaged in their work overall on a day-to-day basis, They're feeling more negative emotions, more stress. People are functioning and delivering, but they're feeling less alive while they're actually doing it. And I think that ultimate piece is showing up where we're getting this vitality debt that's scaling and collectively impacting our workplaces. And so we need to expand the way we look at leadership, not just how people are delivering, but building the capacities and the energy that they need to sustain it and scale that in an effective way.
Sarah, I mean that's such important work. I was at an offsite last week and helping run an offsite for a company, and one of the conversations we were having was that they've never seen the leadership team has never seen so much tension in the
Yeah.
workforce, right? Where people sitting next to each other because of politics or because of some belief or view on something, that people really weren't communicating and they weren't working together very effectively, and it was really impacting the bottom line. It was impacting how people feel, how people are engaged, how people feel safe, and they were really struggling with this. I mean, and it is energy, right? It's bad energy.
Yeah.
Talk about what is the conversation we're not having or we could have as leaders that would help address this, because I think you've got to be courageous to address this head on. I mean, these are some when we get into politics at work, we get into
Totally
how we feel, that this is a danger area for a lot of people, and it's an uncomfortable area. How about that?
Yeah.
Talk about that.
I think that's a really fabulous question. And I think, it comes back to that first piece where those human-centered skills, that emotional intelligence, that ability to be courageous, to have the good conversations, to withhold judgment long enough to kind of hear out other people. I often say to leaders that, the goal isn't just to make everyone happy. Like when it comes to the workplace, high performing workplaces, I think like one of the things you're speaking to is how do we have environments that cultivate an environment of empathy? And I think empathy needs a bit of a PR agent, because I think what I do, because here's what happens. I think people see empathy as making everyone happy or being nice or making sure we don't dim the passion that people have. But when we see it that way, it means that, leaders are carrying this around. And so they go into a conversation where they have to address hard things and they say most of it, but they don't say the real thing. They don't say the hard thing. And then they hope everybody figures it out, and they don't. And then expectations aren't met. And then people have all of these interpretations of what's happened, or the other way, when a lot needs to be done, it's like, well, there's no place for empathy here. And so we're just going to put it in the back burner. And then people just they may do it, they may comply, but you're not getting their very best. They're going to answer yes, but you're not going to hear what the real challenges are. And I think that, that real opportunity for empathy is if people walk away, even if they don't all agree, we don't all agree, but if people can walk away and they will say, I feel heard. I feel like I had an opportunity to, I feel like that person on the other side, they may not agree with me. That's okay. But I feel like they understand why this matters to me. And I feel like I actually know where I stand. We've had the full conversation. People might walk away being angry and frustrated, but they're far more likely to come into the next conversation with a bit more of an open mind. And I think that's the opportunity. It's challenge, you're right, but are you willing to listen as if the other person on the other side is right, so that we get this bigger set of perspectives to move forward in the most effective way? There's that widening, that full preview of what we need to see, because we need something different than we've done before.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting. And Rhett, I love that you brought up politics as part of that, because, I think that there was a time in the past where if we disagreed about, should we launch this project or should we not launch this project, we'd be like, okay, well, there's different sides and he thinks this way, I think that way. Yep. And then the conversation about politics, there was almost this moral cost, right? This and this moral superiority. So if I think that we should vote blue and you think we should vote red, well, fine, I can listen and I can hear you out. And I have plenty of friends on that side where I actually call them and I'm like, why do your people think this way? And why my people think this way? But I can have the conversation in a way that isn't filled with snark, isn't filled with judgment. It's filled with curiosity and I want to know. But at the end of the day, it does feel like with politics, I may say, well, fine, I now understand where you're coming from and I respect that you listen to me, but I still think that I'm right. And there's this like moral superiority that comes into place in this sort of condescension around our judgment about other people's thinking. So like if we decide to launch the project or not launch the project, I may feel heard, I may feel respected, I may understand, but I'm not going to walk away saying, well, I don't agree and I know that I'm superior to you. This thing, but I feel like we do. And I feel like politics has allowed this moral superiority to come into it that then I feel like is so energy draining to who we are and how we continue to have any conversations about stuff that has nothing to do with the moral side of it.
No, and look, they were saying, look, that people don't even want to sit next to, they don't even want to work on a team with people like that, and it is. I mean, it's 100% it's draining, and it's hurting the company.
Yes,
and I think it's reflective of this like overarching trend of like. It's that idea. I wrote a book called Dear Work, Something Has to Change. The Cole's notes of that was about, how do we work in a caring, committed way without being full out consumed by it? And I think that we can extend that to the conversation you just had. Like, how can you hold your perspectives and be committed to the values and the things that you think are important without being consuming the entire way you see and you do things? And so it's this, there is like what we need to do within the workplaces. I think that's, building the emotional intelligence, empathy, the ability for discernment and kind of emotional regulation. All of that has always been important. And we need that at more sophisticated levels. But I think there is this other element that because our approach to work has been all in, all day, every day, it makes our world smaller. And so we're having these conversations where we're doing these things and our world is getting smaller and smaller. And we're just seeing what's happening at work and how do we get this done? But that approach meant that we have narrowed out some of the experiences outside of work that I actually think are the experiences that help us expand perspectives, that give us time to have conversations with different people, to explore and travel and go to different places to see different way people are living. And so, it's one thing to say we're doing this and emotions seem to be running people's kind of behaviors and days. Yes, that's energy draining. But if we keep doing the same thing, we're going to keep having the same environments. And so it really is this place of, it's not just how do we work in a way that makes us better leaders? How do we engage in the world in a way that makes us fuller human beings? And if we don't just develop the leader, we actually develop the whole human. I think we need more humans in our workplace. And that might, that frame, I think, might be a way into those changes that we're looking towards.
So I'm very curious, when you're at a cocktail party, instead of asking, what do you do? What do you ask people? Because I do feel like that's it's a cultural thing. You go to Europe and nobody asks you, what do you do at a dinner party? You come here and it's the first, second, and third question people ask. And we attach reams and reams and reams of value to that answer.
I can tell you one of my favorite
questions. Please do.
Truly, I often ask people, what makes you feel most alive? I really do.
What if they say work?
So then I say, when was the last time that in your work that you felt most alive, most like you? And it's not when I won the conversation, when I solved the problem, when I bulldozed my way and bullied somebody in with logic to make them see my point of view. It's never that. It isn't. It's never those things. It's like when a team was locked in, when people were doing something, when they were doing something that was hard and challenging, when they were doing something that they knew mattered, when they were working with people in a way that was doing something positive. when they felt like they mattered in that equation. Like that's what people, I've asked that question over and over and over again. And what's fascinating is I don't ask like, what brings you the most joy? I didn't say, when did you feel most free and at peace and calm? Those are really beautiful questions, but I ask the question of aliveness because what is most intriguing is it's usually when somebody is doing something that they find challenging, but it feels meaningful. And so when people come back to that piece of what matters, why does this matter? How do we channel our energy, our experience, our emotions to those things that matter in a way that lights us up and fills us up, but most of all kind of lifts up the people around us? That's a different way of looking at things. And so it kind of pulls people outside of the frame, because most people, when I ask it, they're just like, what? What do you mean most alive? And I was like, when you felt most like you. And when we come back to that, we remember that there's a whole bunch of messy human beings who are all kind of living their messy lives, trying to work together. And it's messy sometimes, but when we can have some kind of like grace in that, then we can allow humans to be humans. But when we hold each other accountable to listening and to acknowledging that, everyone has the right to be respected and heard, and that we are trying to create a meaningful impact in the world, moving from that place, the conversations change, I think.
Well, I could talk for hours on this. I don't know about you, Laura, but this is good stuff. And unfortunately, we have to go. But thank you so much. The book is called Dear Work, Something Has to Change.
Yes.
Sara Ross. Look for her online. I'm sure, Sara, that people can reach you on the website. And now, do you have programs? People can look at?
Well, if you go to my website as well, you'll see that I've got an entire thing that is helping people kind of work, lead, and live in more vitality fueling ways, and different resources to help them kind of boost that emotional intelligence so they can bring their best to the things and the moments that matter the most.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, Laura, we have done it again. We wrapped it up.
Thank you, Sara.
3 questions, 1 methodology, real results here on the Global Gurus podcast. We'll see you on the next episode.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.